Hey guys, welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest channel and podcast. If you are on the podcast platforms, please hit that subscribe button. And if you are listening to this on YouTube, thank you for hitting that subscribe button as well as a like button while you're at it. It's like walking into the room, hitting that light switch. We just want to go ahead and brighten up the place. And let's get into this podversation. Well, the story has been making the rounds on social media about Brooklyn pastor or bishop Lamar Whitehead, who has been infamously known as the Bling Bling Bishop and the pastor of the church that got robbed on live stream of he and his wife's jewels that they were claiming were either between the value of $400,000 up to $1 million. I don't really know what's what. That's just what the stories were saying in regards to the value of the jewelry that was taken from he and his wife during a church service where he was robbed during a live stream. And a lot of people were going in on him because he's been known as the Bling Bling Bishop and known to live a very flashy lifestyle. So a lot of people were questioning his ways, how he presents himself, seeing as he is not the typical, shall we say, pastor or bishop that may have what we have been knowing as a mega church, a huge conglomeration of one large church, and then they have multiple satellite churches across the country and even across the world. A lot of these mega churches do, because what they do is they kind of birth baby bishops or baby pastors that come underneath the umbrella of that main church. So you may see a Bishop Jakes, but he has a lot of sister or baby churches across the nation and even in other countries that fall under the Potter's House ministry. It's a real thing because church is a business, right? So with that being said, he wasn't seen as somebody that was a Bishop Jakes type because he was in what we would call a storefront church. So a lot of people were making jokes about the way the church looked. He's in a bodega. He's in a storefront. Why is he dressing so flashy? Why would he have over $500,000 or up to $1 million, he and his wife combined, in jewelry, when it looks like the people who go to the church don't really have it like that? They're not living that life. Why are they operating that way? Where are they getting the money from? Because it couldn't possibly be off of the givings and the donations and tithes of the few people that it looks like go to the church. People have questions. People are going to ask questions. Right or wrong, people are going to ask questions. Well, now it's been reported that he has been arrested for fraud, extortion, and lying to federal authorities. Now, Kingjives of the official Kingjives YouTube channel, he reported on this yesterday, and I did see some of the live stream that he did. I saw the replay, I should say, and he was talking about it, and rightfully so, because Bishop Lamar Whitehead, he has been out here all over social media doing live videos and passing out lawsuits like pieces of gum or mint to the parishioners in the church. Like, you get a lawsuit, you get a lawsuit, you get a lawsuit. So he had claimed to, I don't know if they ever got served, but he had claimed to have been suing official Kingjives channel, Demario Jives, for $20 million. Larry Reid of the Larryreidlive show on YouTube and Facebook and other places for $20 million. And he also reportedly was suing another radio host who goes by the name of Miss Jones, and I believe he was suing her for $50 million. And, you know, these lawsuits were for extremely exorbitant amounts, but he was claiming that I have been affected in very large ways because of their commentary and the things that they chose to speak about me on their platform. So I'm coming for them. Well, the story is reading that Lamar Whitehead will need to say a prayer to get himself out of jail. On Monday, new reports revealed that Bishop Lamar Whitehead was charged with fraud, extortion, and lying to federal authorities. Crazy, right? New York City prosecutors said the pastor, who was the victim of an armed robbery during his church service, solicited money from victims, including a retired parishioner, through threats or lies of making them rich. Bishop Lamar Whitehead then allegedly kept the money for himself, never compensating the victims. Don Florio, Whitehead's attorney, said, Bishop Whitehead denies these allegations, and we are going to fight them vigorously. As previously reported, a lawsuit was filed last year in Brooklyn Supreme Court alleging Whitehead stole $90,000 in retirement savings from one of his parishioners. Pauline Anderson accused him of persuading her to invest her entire life savings in one of his firms, Lamar Whitehead, Inc., promising that he would assist her in buying a home despite her bad credit history. Whitehead connected Pauline Anderson with two money lenders who assured her she'd have a hard time getting approved for a loan to buy a home. Whitehead then offered to help her himself if she agreed to invest money in his firm. The lawsuit states, Pauline Anderson wrote a $90,000 check to Whitehead in November 2020 and expected him to compensate her $100 monthly to pay her bills. Whitehead, the bishop at Leaders of Tomorrow International Churches in Canarsie, Brooklyn, allegedly told the parishioner that he was using her money as a donation to his former campaign to run for Brooklyn Borough President. He allegedly mentioned that he had no intentions on paying Anderson back. He texted her, quote, I am a man of integrity and you will not lose. The charges on Monday allege Whitehead's conduct predated the robbery that surfaced the public back this summer. As previously reported, the 44-year-old and his wife were robbed during his Sunday church service July 24th. The robbery was captured on Bishop Lamar's live stream, where three masked gunmen entered the church, causing the pastor to surrender to the ground as the robbers grabbed his jewelry. The New York City Police Department claims burglars stole $400,000 worth of jewelry from the bishop and his wife, which later was valued at almost $1 million. In September, two men were charged in Brooklyn federal court in connection with the robbery. Okay, here's the thing that I wanted to talk about, because I'm not just here to report that he was arrested, because those who are talking about it, and you can hear that or read that anywhere. I wanted to pose this question. When it comes to people getting into the church, quote unquote, and becoming a pastor or a bishop or a leader of a church and starting their own church, is this like the bar of going from the prison house to the pulpit? And the reason I ask that is because I never followed Bishop Whitehead, but I have seen some clips of live streams that he has done. And I'll be honest, a lot of them were quite comical to me, because for me, I don't take these people, a lot of them, at face value, because for me, I don't know any of them, and it's just entertainment. I may not like some of them, and some of them I may like, but I don't take it personally. Thankfully, it has nothing to do with me. So it's just me on the outside looking in. But I saw on a number of his videos, talk about his past and how he was in prison before and how he supposedly learned a lot while he was in prison and how he turned his life over to the Lord. And it sucks, because there are definitely people who are on a trajectory that is not the best. They get caught up in circumstances and situations, and they get incarcerated, and then they get time. And some of these people do turn over a new leaf, or they want to be better. They know they're getting out, and they don't want to be the same person getting out that they were when they went in. So they will turn their lives over either to God or become a Muslim, or, get into some sort of religion, which tends to be the thing. But when it comes to these people becoming leaders of churches, I mean, it looks like from face value he was doing pretty well, because he was driving in Rolls Royces, expensive vehicles, dressing in what a lot of people would say is flashy clothing, and looking, to be honest with you, just really looking tacky with a lot of the clothing that he was wearing. But I'm not a stylist. I'm not here to tell anyone what they should or shouldn't wear, or what looks good on them or what doesn't. Everybody has the right to choose what they want to wear. Hey, as long as you're doing it legally. And from the allegations, even though he's supposed to be innocent until he's proven guilty, the story just doesn't sound good. Because to hear that this woman allegedly gave him her life savings in the hopes that he could help her to get approval for a home loan. So she gave him $90,000 in retirement savings, when that money could have been easily used to just help her to rebuild and restore her own credit and to get a home in due time. You can't rush that process. And then those lenders that allegedly he led her to told her she was going to have a hard time getting approved for a loan to buy a home. Because that's the one thing. They'll give you a house. They'll give you a house. They will give you a loan for a car easily, even if you have tore up bad credit. But when it comes to assets, things that don't depreciate in value as easily as a car, you're going to have a hard time getting into a house. They do not make that easy for you. And so the fact that she gave her life savings, or I should say retirement savings, which in essence sounded like her life savings, $90,000 over to him in exchange for him compensating her $100 monthly to pay her bills, that to me sounds like, if this indeed is true, because again, I am not involved, thankfully, and all I can do is say allegedly. Even though he has been charged, they still have to convict him, and he hasn't been convicted yet. So right now it's all allegedly, but allegedly these are things that happen. I believe a lot of it was due to persuasion from him being behind the pulpit, because when you get into that space of being a pastor, you know how to use that word of the Bible and to manipulate scriptures. Or what's even worse is if you claim that you're operating from a prophetic calling where God speaks to you and God revealed this and God said that, and you don't have any proof that that's what really happened. So you just have to really trust and believe God. And then a lot of times they will use scriptures to manipulate, so that if you don't believe, or if you don't understand, or if you don't agree, then it'll make you look like you are the one that's in the wrong, because you're not believing the person that God sent to speak to you. And being in a space where he was previously incarcerated and he lived a criminal lifestyle, to go from that to being the leader of a church, I don't know like what the time period was in between all of that, but from what I saw from clips of different live videos that he did do over time, it doesn't sound like there was really that much time in between that space. And so if this indeed is true, it doesn't sound like it's a far stretch, because you go from being a criminal to being someone who says you have a calling from God, and you're preaching and teaching. And it's really sad. I don't know if the victims will have any sort of recourse in getting their money back, because this isn't a civil case, it's a criminal case. And when it comes to these criminal cases, it does seem like if the person is found guilty, they will impugn upon that convicted person some sort of restitution. But a lot of times people don't really get that restitution, and if they do, it's nothing close to what they lost, and it's definitely not in a time period that they would really desire to get it in. So my question to you in situations like this is, does it seem like these people can go from the penitentiary to the pulpit, and a lot of them choose to do so because they know that it's a very low bar for them to get into a quote-unquote legitimate career and make a lot of money, because churches are tax-free institutions. Now, if the person who is the pastor of the church is on payroll, their paycheck is not tax-free, but all of those other things that are coming through to the church, they are. And I just feel, this is just my opinion, just being beautifully honest, that it is something that a lot of those scammers and crooks and criminals and convicts will look to do coming out. It's either that or being a rapper, and I don't have any experience of being a pastor, and I don't have any experience of being a rapper. Don't want to be either. But even with that being said, being a rapper or being a pastor with these people who just decide one day, well, you know what, God called me and I'm going to start a church, there really isn't a whole lot that they have to do and go through in order to get there, because they can just decide today that I'm going to start my own church and get people to start following them, believing them. Now they've got access to the internet, so they're doing live videos, live streams. I mean, I know of some people, I don't know them, but just seeing what I've seen over time, they're doing like 4, 5, 6 hour streams on Clubhouse and YouTube and just other places in the hopes of getting the opportunity to say something that's going to prey on the emotions of some person that's going through a hard time and trial, and that they're listening and they'll hear something that this person will say that will encourage them and make them believe that this person is the truth. And I'm going to keep following them. And then they start speaking things to you to really start getting you to turn over your money. It's really sad, but I just wanted to talk about this. We'll see where this goes from here. He'll probably get bail. I don't know. But we shall see. But I wanted to get your input on this. So you let me know your thoughts about him getting arrested. And also, do you feel that a lot of people like Bishop Lamar Whitehead will go from the penitentiary to the pulpit because it's like a low bar and a low standard that they have to go through in order to get to a space where they're making a lot of money? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. And until the next time, this is Beth, and I'm just being beautifully honest.